Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is now my third attempt at making this video. It seems that every time I try to make this video, something comes up. But this isn't my usual way of doing things. Usually I'm up in front of a whiteboard, or I have some symbols printed off or something along those lines. I'm not usually sitting down in front of the camera. So without further ado, I'd like to just get to the topic of conversation. First and foremost, meet my cat. Her name is Diamond. She is a sweetheart and very needy, so she will be sitting here. And it's only appropriate that my feline friend is sitting here with me, because the topic of conversation is going to be a symbolism of the Lion King, more so a specific quote that is expressed within the movie, and how it ties into our favorite, well, everyone's favorite occultist, Aleister Crowley, and the symbolism of the golden age and the light seed that I've been talking about. So first and foremost, I'd like to get one thing out of the way. It does not matter where the information is coming from. Okay, whether the information is coming from Jesus Christ himself, or if it is coming from Aleister Crowley, it doesn't matter who says it. If the information is true, it is true. If the information is false, it is false. And so if we're going to be looking at information, where the information is coming from, in my opinion, matters not. Right? If Aleister Crowley says 2 + 2 = 4, then obviously he's correct and the information is correct. 2 + 2 = 4. And on the same token, Jesus Christ himself says 2 + 2 = 5. It does not equal 5. So the source of the information, where it's coming from, matters less, in my opinion, than the information itself and its validity. So it's just something to understand right out the gate, because you say the name Aleister Crowley and people automatically, everywhere I go, they shudder, they grimace. Oh, like Aleister Crowley, like dude's evil, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Like, doesn't matter. So, with that being said, there's a quote within the Lion King, and it's funny how the Lion King keeps coming up. The Lion King, the Lion of Judah, the Lion Heart, the Golden Age, right? The symbolism of the soul, S-O-U-L, or phonetically S-O-L, right? Star. When a person accepts the truth into their heart, and they nurture that truth, and they seek after truth, and they speak the truth, and they chase after teaching other people, not so much that they're casting pearls before swine, but in so much that those who are willing to accept that truth as true, you're willing to teach them, and you're willing to help them out. If the person's willing to accept the fish that you offer and they're willing to learn to fish, then give them a fish and teach them to fish. But otherwise, don't waste your time. But when the person accepts that truth into their heart and nurtures it, allows it to grow, and they obtain that heart of gold, that love for light, that love for truth, and ultimately, symbolism also leads to the concept of true love as well. But when they accept that love for truth and they let it grow, then in theory, at least from what I can see, upon the individual's time within their flesh vessel coming to an end, i.e., the concept of death, then theoretically their soul becomes another star within a galaxy, right? Or it becomes its own solar system within the sky. In theory, right? And it brings up a quote from The Lion King, where Mufasa is kind of not necessarily scolding Simba, but lecturing him about their ancestors. The great kings of the past are up in the stars. You know, the great kings of the past look down upon us and watch us, not look down upon us as in some sort of seat of like a high horse or holier than thou, but they look down and they watch us. You know, the stars in the sky and the beings that inhabit those systems, they ultimately watch us. You know, but the great kings of the past look down from the stars and they watch us. And with the symbolism of everything that I've been talking about, it made quite a bit of sense when I thought about a quote from Aleister Crowley. Now, I'm not a big reader of Crowley's. I didn't get much into his work. You know, I've heard some snippets here and there. But there's a quote attributed to Aleister Crowley that says something along the lines of, every human being is a star. And it makes sense, you know, because ultimately we're all conceived and born from the burst of a star. You know, it is that photon, it is that sun projecting its light to the earth that creates life in the first place. And the sperm fertilizing the egg is but a microcosm of the macrocosmic idea of the sun emitting the photon into the earth and creating life upon the planet. And so it got me wondering about that. You know, every human being is a star, and it just kind of made sense as to why Hollywood, the land of movie magic, and the druids, you know, the wood of the holly tree being that which the druids crafted their magic wands from, why they would pervert the sacred symbolism of the Golden Age with the Golden Globe Award, and why they would create this Hollywood Walk of Fame as if stardom here upon the earth, I mean, is really something relevant and, you know, something to chase after in that manner. Meanwhile, I mean, we hear a lot about what goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood and how some of those producers are, and you know, but that's not really the point. I'd rather not get into any of that. But what if when a person who has accepted the truth into their heart, what if when they die they do become their own solar system within the sky, or if you prefer, the heavens or heaven? Because I mean, if you do research on the Greek word Oranos, means heaven. That's the word heaven, right? Which is funny because it comes from Father Uranus, who is Father Sky. Well, and then the Hebrew word for heaven is Samaim, which is heavens, skies, right? The vaulted expanse of the skies. And so, if the Creator well, since the Creator is the pure light of love, it only makes sense that we are a microcosm of that. So every human being is a star. And it's kind of ironic that symbolism is in the Lion King, yet it's like we've been programmed to deny that as a possibility of truth, because it's like we've been programmed to not even understand the science of the soul, the science of the spirit and the spirit realm, and the way things work beyond our perception with our five senses. It's, I don't know, it's just it's a bit thought-provoking for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I mean, it's definitely a little bit different not writing things down up on a whiteboard and having like my main talking points kind of set there with like the certain symbols and everything that I use to try and teach with. But I mean, I'm just kind of like going at it right now, you know, like no rehearsal, no reciting anything, just kind of like, you know, off the dome, you know, off the hill of Golgotha, so to speak, just sharing what's being put on my mind right now. And that is that just because the information doesn't match up with our own bias, just because it's coming from a source that may be questionable, just because it is coming from a source that seems really, really sketchy, you know, based on what we've been told, doesn't make the information any less valid. And so, I don't know, I hope that more is to be revealed. I hope that more truth is to be revealed. And I mean, I pray for the world. You know, I pray for the world to find the truth and find love and find freedom, you know, so that way, I mean, some semblance of balance can be restored. Because at the rate that the world seems to be going at, sometimes I don't know. And I mean, I'm a pretty hopeful dude. I stay pretty steadfast in myself and in, I mean, I guess you can call it faith, but more so steadfast in my courage. I guess I would call it that, you know, that lion heart, that brave heart, because obviously, I mean, danger lurks around every corner, you know, danger lurks around every corner. I'm pretty sure I've said it in another video, all of life is a near-death experience, and when one comes to understand that death can happen, it can occur at any time, it definitely makes every breath one takes that much more special and that much more in tune with the present moment. I mean, death truly can happen at any moment within the confines of this 3D physical reality. So, I mean, the takeaway from this is, I mean, like I've said, just because the information's coming from a questionable source doesn't mean that the information is to be rejected or that it is invalid. And at the same time, just because the information is coming from a trusted source doesn't mean that it is valid. And it doesn't mean that the information is to be trusted. You know, everything should be looked at with a little bit of scrutiny at the very least, you know, and should be addressed for logical inconsistencies. And, you know, everything should be looked at and addressed and, you know, contemplated upon, meditated upon, really thought about, and looked at from every angle possible. I mean, even what I'm saying, like, please don't take anything I'm saying for face value and just running with it. I mean, I've suffered enough in my lifetime from doing that, just taking what other people tell me is what they tell me is fact and just running with it. So please, I mean, do me and yourself a favor and avoid that at all costs. Like, even information that just seems like it is the obvious answer, please, like, look at it. Like, actually look at it with a discerning eye and really address the information for what it is. Look for logical inconsistencies. Look to see if it's, like, I mean, is it even a possibility? Like, a house divided cannot stand, so a house divided, or a statement stated that is divided against itself, i.e. contradictory, it is something that is going to fall on its face. I mean, it may hold up for a time. It may even stand through a couple storms, but at the end of the day, the truth will prevail, and all that has been hidden will be revealed. So it's just important to understand that, and that ultimately it's our own individual personal responsibility to seek after truth for ourselves and lead by example. And through that leading by example, one will attract their own following, and at the same time, that following will in turn go on to lead themselves and lead other people. And that's all we could ever really ask for, is to become leaders ourselves, so that way we can help other people become leaders themselves, so that way they can bring up leaders as well. So that way, ultimately, everybody can take care of their own self, and in turn, being able to handle one's own business, be able to adequately help another with their own. So I hope you got something out of this. I hope it made sense to you. Speaking from the heart, speaking off the top of the head, not rehearsing. Like I said, I'm not writing anything down here. I'm just pure expression of free thought here. So I hope everyone has a good night, and I mean, one day at a time, as cliche as that sounds. If we stick together in love, unity, truth, love, freedom, then I mean, ultimately we'll make it out all right. All right, peace.